Okay, so good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us, Jim and Francis. And you are the newer people on the block, in my eyes, anyway. Jim, I'm not sure if you've joined us, but we start with informal introductions. And Ben, and our guest speaker, and Lisa and Chip of our core leadership team. So my name is Mike Hinkle, and I am the co-chair of the DFW chapter. I knew we were going to be a small group this morning. Half of our leadership team had indicated they're out of town and unavailable. And we have been building our ranks, trying to reinvigorate by moving our chapter meetings to Saturday mornings. And so the word is still yet to get out. We're working in the background to try to up that. But remember, this is recorded, and we do reach a lot of other people through our YouTube recording. So we have a vigorous discussion, and we can share that with the DFW community that way. So my background is in natural foods, and I've always been an environmentalist, and I've always just felt inspired to make sure I'm a part of the community in some fashion. I'm from Florida, and it's no different, from there to here to anywhere on our planet. We have one planet to take care of, and we can, my thought is the more we can do at the local level, the better, and that's why I'm here. I hope we can inspire each other to act on the local level in whatever way we can, whether it's a cleanup or joining our local communities at the city and county level, beyond the state level and national, to inspire for climate action. So I will just pass it off to anybody. At least just self introductions. That's it.
Hello everyone, and my name is Lisa Chen. I'm a new member. I just participated in 2 meetings, but I also volunteered to be the minute taker. My major was totally not related to environmental protection or sciences. I'm a pathologist, oral pathologist, which means study diseases occurring in the mouth. I'm semi-retired, so I have more time to work on something I'm interested in, and I want to learn more about climate change. I just finished my training last October. I learned a lot through the training. The environmental or climate change is something, it's observable. Everybody experiences it. So I hope I can do something to not only learn the knowledge, but also help others. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, Jim, would you care to go ahead and self-introduce? Yeah, you gotta take yourself off of mute. I think you're still muted, sir.
There we go. Okay. All these buttons. I'm normally on Saturdays, I'm volunteering to help in Arlington to various community nature centers and parks. And so with this hot summer here, the leader of today's group at the Sarah Capehart Nature Preserve in Southwest Arlington, they're taking July and August off. And so I thought I'd see what you guys were up to in the cool inside my little house here. So I've been a journalist and a small entrepreneur and all. I grew up in Colorado, and we always on the summer would drive up to Estes Park and the Rocky Mountain National Park. And so the environment and nature has always been instilled in me. And I then am been a journalist and have write for the Green Source DFW's few articles. So that kind of sums things up, keeps me out of trouble.
Thank you so much, Jim. I think I always love to hear our wealth of knowledge and, how we're interconnected and how we can expand our base. And, now we got a key person in the Arlington area, another one, and with connections. What the name of it was Green Source is?
Oh, and it's online. It's greensourcedfw.org. Actually, they're trying to change their name to Green Source Texas
Okay.
.org. It's well funded by the founder of the 7-Eleven stores. He passed away, and you don't know about it's been around for almost 10 years, and they have
Great.
whole idea is a bulletin board for groups to post what their meetings are to share with everybody, and then they have a little once a week a little newsletter that comes out that has 2 or 3 articles related to has been related to DFW, and that's why they're changing their name to greensourcetexas.org so they can cover some other stuff around the state. I think it's a great little organization that they should have instead. I don't know. It'd be nice to have every town, Austin, Waco, whatever, having a little Green Source Waco and stuff. But they're going this away,
That's a
and
great
so
resource.
everybody should subscribe, should get on the list and get that little newsletter.
I will, and I'll see if I can put our meeting dates up there too. Okay.
Sure, exactly. And if you have any story ideas, you can send them to the editor, Julie.
That's
So,
fantastic. Thank you so much, Jim. Francis, would you care to do a quick introduction? I think we'll go Francis, Chip, and then Ben.
Okay, I'm Francis. I am by a veterinarian. I worked for 25 years in my small animal clinic. The state of Texas decided they needed to build a super highway there, so they took my clinic by eminent domain. So I spent the next 10 years working in the Food Safety Inspection Service of the USDA in all of the slaughterhouses in Texas. I've seen just about all of them. Then I started having some medical problems, so I retired, and I'm retired right now. Still have the medical problems. That's the part of getting old that is the most prominent thing that everyone I talk to that gets old has is medical problems. So anyway, that's where I'm at. And when I'm not at the doctor's offices, I like to participate in whatever's going on. There's a group in Waco that hangs signs off the walkway over the I-35 on Saturdays that I'm interested in. So that's about it.
Thank you, Francis. And I'm sorry, what part of town are you in again? You just kind of said it.
Okay, I'm in Malone, Texas, which is about 15 miles east of Hillsboro.
Thank you for joining us. Chip?
And thank you both, Francis and Jim, for joining us, and Lisa for serving as our secretary. I'm Chip Pitts. I'm a member of the executive committee, and I focus a little bit on strategy because I was a lawyer. I'm not practicing anymore except for pro bono purposes, but I do a lot of volunteer work and strategy for nonprofits as a contribution. I've worked with Amnesty on their climate strategy and human rights strategy, for example, chaired the section here in the U.S. and been the chair of a number of other NGOs in the U.S. and globally. But I'm very concerned and have been for decades now about climate change. And of course, getting people to see that the negative effects, including on public health, Francis, and on all life, biodiversity, animal life, species in general, as well as human life. And seeing the connections on that has proven to be harder. It used to be a non-politicized issue, non-polarized. Nixon founded the EPA and so forth. But now it's unfortunately not, it's not still as neutral as it should be, caring for the environment and our home here. So I've taught climate change advocacy and human rights and the link between them, the link between the environment and human rights. I just spent a long time preparing for, and then I was a delegate to the Bonn conference. So I've attended a number of the COPs, the conferences of the parties of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. We now have a bit of a challenge, to say the least, given this legislation that has undermined what was previously the world's biggest climate action legislation. And so getting different groups to see what's going on, see reality, as in the name of this particular organization, the Climate Reality Project. Al Gore has been focused on that for a long time, but it's critical to realize this isn't a partisan effort or organization, or should it be, because these impacts cut across sectors, like different industry sectors, public health, national security, competitiveness. The fact that we've eliminated basically a lot of the basis for the renewable energy, clean energy jobs now in this new legislation that just passed, and that yet we still see the continuing climate impacts as we have here in Texas, as they did in New York with the floods there, but the tragic, Kerr County and Hill Country, flooding that's taken 150 or so lives, and probably another 100 on top of that, not to mention all the people who had their property damaged and injuries and so forth. It's really time for us to get serious about this. The wildfires we're seeing are also all made more frequent and intense by, what is really a man-made, we shouldn't call them natural disasters, because they're not purely natural anymore, given the impacts we're having with global warming, retaining more moisture in the air, and therefore having these much more intense precipitation events, this supposed 1 in 500 or 1,000 year event in Kerr County or Hill Country, that these are now occurring on a generational basis. Hurricanes more frequent and intense and damaging, and drought was a part of that as well. The drought beforehand that allowed it, the water to just flow over the soil. So I think we should acknowledge that on this monthly call, certainly, and realize what a tragedy it is, how local it is, how it's hitting us here at home in Texas and in our communities. So that's why I'm active with the Climate Reality Project, and I am hoping we need to rebuild our capacity. A lot of people were either complacent or thinking it was under control after the Biden administration's legislation. But now that we've withdrawn from all of these organizations, the Paris Convention and we're not present. We weren't present as a government at Bonn. We won't be present at the Conference of the Parties in Brazil coming up. So I think it's more important than ever for us to talk to our friends and neighbors, including not just those that agree with us, but others. Sorry for the long spiel there, Mike, but I just thought, given what happened, we shouldn't let that pass without mentioning it. So it's good to see everybody, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the meeting today.
Thank you, Chip, and no worries. I think it's always, you just have such a insight in the sense that you tie everything together really nicely, and it's very much appreciated. Ben, I think what we'll do then is you can give your self-introduction, then we'll move to doing the community ground rules really quickly, and then bounce right back to you for the presentation.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, my name is Ben Amy, and my first time here. I met Mike of all places at a tire shop, and we got to talking, and so it's privileged to be here. Thank you. I'm an electrical engineer. I've worked on automotive electronics mostly for safety systems like anti-lock brakes and airbags and things like that. For my career at Texas Instruments, I live in Allen, and I've lived here in Allen for about I don't know, 26 years or so. And yeah, I'm interested in all kinds of environmental causes, as you will see during my presentation. So
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. And so would anybody care to volunteer? No pressure. I will read them if not, but in the chat, as I mentioned, I dropped we'll start the community ground rules. Would anybody care to read those out loud?
I'll be happy to, Mike. Make space or take space. Strive for 2 minutes each for time when discussing issues. Speak from the I perspective instead of generalizing. Practice active listening and seek to understand before seeking to be understood. Assume good faith, good intentions on the part of the other. Respect everybody's time, every person's time, space, and interest. Be willing to be uncomfortable, because it's the only way we learn, is to get out of our comfort zone and build new neurons in the brain and synaptic connections. Be open to productive discomfort. Intent does not negate impact. So you can actually cause a negative emotional reception even if you don't intend to. So keep that in mind and try to avoid it. Disagree without discord. Personal attacks and labeling aren't productive. They have no place in our chapter. And we must accept that there's no quick fix. This problem has existed for, growing over millennia. And so we need to recognize that it's not going to be fixed quickly, although the deadlines are becoming increasingly more urgent.
Thank you. And would anybody like to read the Indigenous Land Acknowledgement? Okay. Our Indigenous Land Acknowledgement. We generally start our meeting with this too. So specifically in the DFW areas, we are standing and living on the stolen lands from the Kickapoo, Wichita, and Tawakoni, Humanos, and Comanche people, who have been harmed yet continue to thrive in the process of colonialization and white supremacy. I encourage all of us to go to native-land.ca and educate ourselves on these Native communities. Okay, and now we will go back to Ben. And as a side note, Jim and Francis, I don't want to forget, I just want to make sure that you're receiving our monthly newsletter. If not, please send me a note in the chat and I will make sure we get you added. I'm assuming that maybe you have, because you got the link and you're here, but just in case. And Ben?
okay, let me try to share. See if it works. All right, can you see the screen and hear me still?
Yes.
All right. So like I said, my name is Ben, and Mike invited me here to just share a little bit about Adventures Countering Litter. So Adventures Countering Litter is a nonprofit and got some pictures here from a creek that talks a little bit about my inspiration. Basically, I've always been interested in protecting the environment, but in about, I don't know, 8 years or so ago, I got really into fishing, and I was fishing a lot of urban creeks, like places I could walk or ride my bike to, all around Allen, McKinney, Plano, Richardson, or whatever. Well, of course, these creeks are where our stormwater runoff goes. So every piece of plastic littered on the roads flows there after rains. So these creeks were full of plastic, and I started picking it up while I was fishing, and then gradually morphed to where I was going these places just to pick up litter. And this Mustang Creek is is very close to my house. I go there several times a month usually. But at some point, once it turned into a certain amount of passion, I worked with a few of my coworkers to basically found formally as a nonprofit to enable us to have access to more resources and credibility in terms of particularly talking with the local governments like the City of Allen and the City of Plano, and getting connections and things like that. It's been a great experience. So we were officially incorporated in 2022, and they're based in Allen because that's where I live. You know, a lot of people are familiar with the leave no trace principles. You know, leave nothing but footprints, take nothing but pictures, and take the plastic out too. So that's what we do. Here's a picture from a section of Rowlett Creek. You can see that, especially when you find these logjam areas, they really fill up with plastic. And so specifically, why did we start a new nonprofit versus joining, you know, a lot of the other ones that already exist? Of course, I volunteer and work with a lot of other organizations, but we really wanted to specifically focus on combining the love of adventure with the passion for litter removal, going on adventures into rivers and creeks and roadways, and then you know, through education and engagement, organize other, you know, anglers, paddlers, hikers, campers, cyclists, whatever, those who are already enjoying the outdoors, to motivate them to protect the areas that they're enjoying. So, you know, cycling, hiking, fishing, kayaking, camping, scuba diving, we'll do anything. Just a few highlights. Top pictures from we did a mountain biking event at Irwin Park, and the guy in orange is Bill Gross, one of my co-founders. Another one, this picture here, as interesting as one of the first. I've caught plastic with fishing lures many times, but this I think was the first and only time that I've caught a fish and plastic on the same cast. Yeah, so we've been, you know, growing, getting more active in 2023. We moved about 1,000 pounds, a little over 1,000 pounds, and in 2024, a little over 2,000 pounds, and in 2025, we're on pace to exceed 3,000 pounds. So, and so how are we doing that? I mean, we have an open calendar of events, right, on both our website and Facebook, which I have links for later, where try to organize a variety of events, you know, varieties of times and varieties of types of activities. Some are just cleanups, some are fishing plus cleanup, some are, you know, hiking plus cleanup, that kind of thing, and post those for, you know, anybody to join. And then, you know, the adventure aspect. So this is me in Texas' largest sycamore, which is on a trail near Lake Lavon. Pretty intense hike, about 9 miles through mud and snakes, but it's pretty cool. The tree is pretty impressive. If anybody wants to go there, I'd be happy to take them. Pictures from Trinity River cleanup that I joined with the Dallas Downriver Club, a scuba diving cleanup at Possum Kingdom Lake that was organized by inland divers. You know, so just really trying to get out there. I mean, people that use these spaces, or if you can get people that don't use these spaces to join you, you know, they can see impacts firsthand. I mean, like Chip mentioned, I mean, they can see the plastic firsthand, but, you know, if you get a scuba diver to see a coral bleaching event or something, it just makes a big impact over words, right? You know, group events, we organize and coordinate, you know, group events for youth that need service hours, or companies or teams that want to do team building, anything like that. So this was an event recently in North Dallas at Hamilton Park, where we removed about a little over 400 pounds of plastic and debris from the creek and the park. And the before and after pictures are very satisfying. I mean, I think that's one thing. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons that I don't have time to talk about for how I got so deep into this particular environmental activity. But I mean, I love being outside. It's great exercise. It was great. It was great during COVID because of, it's easy to be distanced. You can do it by yourself, or you can do it with friends as a social thing. And then, you can immediately see the impact. Which is great. So how could we work together? I mean, ACL, like I said, we do group events, so we'd be happy to organize an event that could be added as a component to anytime you guys have a get together for any kind of event. We could provide trash bags, grabbers, take care of all the trash disposal, anything else to make the event great. If the event was large enough, maybe snacks, door prizes, whatever, to encourage participation. Or we can a dedicated cleanup. And then of course, I mean, we are a nonprofit and made up of, I have a full-time job, so I have lots of time, and I only have a limited set of skills, so we can take volunteers of all kinds. So after today, that there's all kinds of ways you can get in touch. adventurescounteringlitter@gmail.com, or my phone number is there. We're on most of the social media sites. adventurescounteringlitter.org. It's our website. The website's, I mean, and then there's links and handles there for a few I would highlight. I mean, the website is probably the most up to date. It's where, when we're planning events and stuff, they go up there first. Then the most major events and things like that, we make sure we get them out there on Facebook, and then eventually the other socials. And then we usually post summaries and stuff on YouTube. That's quite a bit out there. But yeah, we always need people to join cleanup, or if you really become passionate about it, help plan cleanups, help with our social media marketing, event photography, any skill you have, we can put to use. And then of course, we're funded by donations. And that is my quick spiel. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, Jim, can we,
I-
or Ben, can we go back to a full screen?
To which one?
Or
Oh,
leave
yeah,
up
yeah.
your contact?
Stop sharing.
I
What you mean?
think, Lisa, you were first.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Ben, what do you do with the plastic waste or garbage you collected? What do you, how
Yeah.
do you deal with?
Great question. So, stuff that I pick up from the roadway when we do like a roadside cleanup, is often dry enough and clean enough that we can, sort and recycle some of it. Most of the stuff we pick up out of the water, out of the creeks, would not be accepted by our single stream recycling, right? So, it goes in the trash. If I have small cleanups, I can usually utilize my own trash cart, because we never make enough trash and don't fill it up otherwise. When we have big cleanups, we're very fortunate that the city of Allen and the North Texas Municipal Water District allow us 2 trips per month to the transfer station. So like that. Yeah, so big cleanups where we have additional volunteers besides more than 1 or 2 people, and we fill the bed of a truck or we fill a trailer with trash, we can take it to the transfer station for free. So usually go to that Custer Road transfer station in Plano, Allen area, and that's the most convenient.
Jim, do you
Yeah,
have
that's great service because they take tires, they recycle tires there and stuff like that that could be expensive to dispose of otherwise.
Thank you.
you partner with the cities, like, in the sense of outreach to see what kind of resources they have to help out?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, like I said, unfortunately right now, I'd love to make like executive director my full-time job in a couple of years, but right now I'm working, time is limited. But I do have some contacts, particularly at the city of Allen, and a guy that I was close to at the city of Allen actually recently moved and now works for the city of Garland Parks and Rec. So I've done some events where I partnered with them, or they sometimes, for whatever reason, they get some like trash bags donated to them, or they don't know what to do with them. They pass them to me, or stuff like that. So,
I guess
yeah.
I'm wondering, has there been any restrictions on like the city or any area you've looked at, like, oh, we shouldn't go there? I mean, I think I mentioned Oak Point to
Yeah.
you and Bob Woodruff Park. So my biggest thing, and even when I'm disc golfing in a couple of the spots,
Yeah.
the waterways, like I feel like getting a kayak and going down the water, but then, logistically, that would be very difficult in some of these areas. What's your experience there? And then, safety.
Yeah, so a lot of the creek walls around, I mean, the creek beds are quite deep, right? So there are places where I have to use ropes to go down into the creek and back out, and where it would be difficult to get a kayak in. But um, there are places where it can be done. Uh, I've kayaked on this Mustang Creek section close to my house. I've kayaked on Rowlett Creek. There's a variety of places you can get in and out of Rowlett Creek pretty easy in Garland and in even in Allen. But you just you might have to park in a funny place and drag your kayak a ways and stuff. But access is not really a challenge on the creeks because that's kind of a public space. I've tried to get permission from the city of Allen in the past to have events where we cleaned up on like park ponds, and they won't go for it. They say it's illegal, like liability issues. They won't let me because I can get all the trash on the shore and maybe what I can reach a couple feet into the water, but then you can see like plastic in the water out further, and so I haven't been able to convince them yet to let me actually have an event where I kayak on the ponds. But yeah, Oak Point is good. There's a few places, it just takes some exploration, which, like I said, I'm happy to do in preparation for events, but because you may have to like walk around a long time before you find the place where the plastic really flows to. And then you can have a good cleanup there because it'll be enough for a lot of people to actually do. So, and I mean, exploration is part of the fun for me, why I'm into it, because it go places I haven't gone before. And
Jim,
Yes, well, I just published a story a couple of weeks ago on Green Source DFW, and but one of the ideas I like the best is what this one resident near in southeast Arlington. There is a linear park called Fish Creek that follows along Fish Creek, and the park then touches in with Grand Prairie, and we got then 5 miles of a paved path that follows along this creek, and naturally there's a lot of litter and there's other houses along the side. She got motivated to 5 years ago to start this Fish Creek cleanup, and she then decided to pick the weekend before the Super Bowl as the big Fish Creek cleanup, and she's contacted Boy Scouts. She has like 600 people showing up on that weekend, and it's that seems like fewer poison ivy, and they go through the city of Arlington and Grand Prairie all participate, and they have dumpsters, and and the city's handing out the pickup sticks and trash bags for everybody, and The Boy Scouts are always looking, a lot of groups are looking for a community service thing. And so they all, come together. It's kind of interesting seeing the Little League baseball group showing up
Mhm.
and picking up trash all along Fish Creek. And just amazing that with that Fish Linear Park, all that runoff from the city streets brings incredible trash bottles and parts of different things back. Kids that steal backpacks from their classmates at school or something and throw them over the bridge into the creek or something. So it's amazing. So I've been going there and I wrote about it as well as then participated in it. So, and it takes her the whole year then going around and promoting this for that one weekend cleanup thing. And it's been a success. Depends on the weather a little bit, but it's a little cooler. But I think she's then postponed it 1 week or something and had to reschedule it once. But anyways, the stuff they found initially was remarkable. So just focusing on that one creek there. I say the cities all have departments that the government back in the 70s or so or 60s formed this Keep America Beautiful. I guess it was Lady Bird Johnson started Keep America Beautiful, and every city then gets some funding or has been getting funding to have their own little department, and so you can work with them to help get supplies and get the word out. So anyway, that's my little sharing some information, and my articles on the greensourcedfw.org. And there is a neat little place to sell well, anyway, and if you're going to recycle, like I recently sold my house and moved into a little apartment, so I don't have the weekly pickup where you separated the recyclable into the disposable. The apartments don't mess around with any of that stuff. So I've been just sort of pulling all my aluminum cans into a trash bag here and then figuring out what to do. And some of these recycle centers, they won't take it unless there's 50 pounds or something. I'm just thinking now that I saw that Walmart had a little recycle thing, and I might then take my trash bag over and unload it into their recycle bin instead of having to wait for a bag to get 50 pounds of empty aluminum cans.
Yeah, 50 pounds is a lot of cans. Yeah, that's neat. I'll check out that Fish Creek information. And yeah, recycling metal has provided a little bit of income. Like sometimes I'll find tires with the rims on, and I can take the tire to the city and take the rim to a recycler. And if it's stainless or something, give me a couple dollars. Go for it.
I have a question.
Thank you, Jim. Chip?
Yeah, thank you, Jim. This is very worthwhile, and it's great to hear about it. Thank you for sharing with us. I wanted to ask a couple of questions. I was wondering, and I think this is just a great way to bring people together, again, across the unnecessarily polarized lines that we have, and bring in youth. Youth engagement is critical, and it's a great way to get, building them a love for the outdoors and a sense of responsibility and cleaning up and so forth. So I was just wondering how many, youth you have engaged, how many people you have engaged overall, but also of that, of that population, what percentages of youth, and do you go into high schools and so forth, or elementary schools? I saw your budding environmentalist with you in one of the pictures, which is great. But I was wondering, do you have a youth engagement strategy and outreach, and how has that worked out? And do you ever, talk about the climate issues and the climate connection to pollution? And I'm curious also, just following up on Jim's question, what your thoughts are about the efficacy of recycling. I was surprised. I did not know that it's just not accessible in apartments in a general way, the way Jim just described. So you can comment on any or all of that if you want.
Okay. If I start with the youth question, I am very interested in reaching out to youth. I've had probably, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 unique volunteers that besides my kids that were, their friends or people that looking for National Honor Society hours or, things like that. I have on my to-do list, lots of ideas about reaching out to environmental clubs at the local high schools and middle schools and stuff, but I haven't really done that. When I first started, I did make contact with several Boy Scout leaders that were referred to me that was initially exciting. It didn't really work out. My impression was that uh, part of their activity was that they wanted to organize be the organizers of their own. I didn't, I'm sure that I could do more there, Um, at the start of some of our event on the education side, I mean, at the start of some of our events, I I often do just a couple minute spiel about, how the litter gets to wherever we are. Some kind of educational component or factoids about it. I haven't pursued a bigger education agenda, so to speak, like trying to get into schools as a speaker or anything like that. So I don't, that may come someday, but um, hasn't really had that opportunity so far. Um, Recycling efficacy, of course, um, is a mixed bag. Some some gets recycled. Some people are frustrated by reports of, that they separate their stuff and then their recycle bin ends up going to the landfill also anyway or whatever. And some of that comes and goes varies by city or comes and goes with the price, with the market price of resellable plastic. If there's no buyer for the bottles, that no recycler that wants the bottles, then they have to go. But um, of course, everything we can do to make it easier for people to recycle, easier for recyclers to resell their product will only help. So I just only hope that the efficiency of the recycling continues to improve. What did I miss? Oh, you're muted.
I think you did good.
Um,
I don't know, Chip, if you got through all your questions.
No, I think he covered the bases. Thank you, Jim.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I'll just close this out. I think it does, every time I see, I go on my walks down my trails here by my house at Oak Point, and Bob Woodruff, it just strikes me that we need better help with source point pollution, that every rain event just can't keep washing this stuff right into the creeks. And, what I see is very hard to pick up stuff at different levels, at heights, and, these creek beds are deep. And what happens is the stuff just flushes down with the latest storm, and then it gets hung up in branches. And some of it that I see is very hard to collect. So maybe we can,
Yeah.
get
Yeah,
on
I mean, that obviously getting it at its source is much more important in the long run. And educating people about whatever, keeping their trash can lids closed doesn't blow out, not directly littering themselves, covering their loads and their pickups and trailers so stuff doesn't blow out. I mean, but I also I hope, maybe I'm just too much of an optimist, but I hope that there is some relation there in that, if I get people out and they see and they pick up litter, that they'll be much more careful in the future. Uh, I think people are unlikely to litter if they've participated in cleaning up
right.
themselves. So, and yeah, it is sad. I mean, once once a plastic bag, catches high in a tree branch because the water was high or the wind took it there or whatever, it just stays forever. I mean, or disintegrates into little tiny bits and that are impossible to clean up. So,
Well, thank you very much.
well, thank you so much for the
you know,
chance to come. Yeah.
Yeah, we look forward to partnering with you. So we have made a shift this year to try to get out and about in town, and I think in our notes section here, you can see this month we are meeting with the book club, and I want to announce that it is next Saturday. Well, it's Saturday the 26th at 11 a.m. and La Madeleine in Plano. Book is Serviceberry by Robin Wall Kimmerer. All are invited to join for a book discussion and brunch afterwards. I think that we did do a cleanup White Rock Lake a couple months ago, and so Ben, yeah, we definitely look forward to maybe we can plan something together and invigorate our chapter, work with some other local groups, maybe inspire some teenagers even, but we will see. And let's see what else is in our chat. In the agenda, I mentioned earlier, we do have Climate Reality DFW t-shirts, flyers, and business cards. If you feel so inspired to wear a t-shirt, you can send me a text. I did put my email in, I'm sorry, my phone number, and I can drop my email too. But yeah, Jim, I definitely would like to, stay in touch with you, and I'm looking forward to reading some of your articles. So the last part of our agenda, okay, the book club, our in-person meetup. So yeah, Ben, I would say maybe in a couple months, but I'm going to get with you offline, and we'll see what we can plan and hook you up with Jan, our events coordinator.
Okay.
See what we can put on the calendar.
Yeah, a few months is good unless you like doing stuff at 6 a.m. because that's the only time it's tolerable out there. But I'm a morning person, so if somebody wants to clean up at 6 a.m., let me know.
I think I'm more 9 a.m., but
Sure.
All righty. We have 5-minute actions and an open floor discussion. And Jeffrey is not here today, so there will not be a formal closing that we all look forward to from Jeffrey. But the 5-minute action, I believe this is an active link. If y'all would like to go to it, and we could just do that together. Francis, do you have, and Jim, do you have the ability to do this? I know sometimes joining on your phone, or if you're new, we normally just leave this link up, and you can do this on your own. So I don't know what everybody's comfortability is. Would you like to do this as a team together, or would you like to do this after the meeting? But please open up that link, and so we can all take a look at that together. And Francis, are you able to access that link in the chat?
I'm electronically challenged, so
Okay.
someone has to kind of walk me through doing stuff.
Are you on your phone or on a computer?
I'm on the computer.
Okay, on the bottom of the screen, you can hover over the chat. Can you open up the chat by clicking on that?
It's open.
It's open, okay, and then just scroll to the agenda part and 11 o'clock action item. This is climaterealityproject.org/act. And so it's one of the beautiful things that they've done at National is make it easy for us to, do an action like this. There's a Climate Action Now app, but this is directly off their website. And did you see that, Francis?
Yeah, I've got it up. It came up.
Great. Okay. So if you want to do that with us, let's do it. Let's do a 5-minute action together. They say it's 5 minutes, so let's go for it. There's a number of topics, and I know the Conference of the Parties will be beginning in I think November, is that right, Chip? I feel like that was November. And so the first digital action on that page, and is everybody else linked into that? Have that page open?
Yep, I see it.
Okay. I would just encourage you to pick a topic and, you know, let's push through. I'm going to send a message to the COP30 leadership. As long as you're comfortable with that, we'll spend a few minutes doing that. I'm going to clear my screen. And mine was quick.
That's a hard one. I'm gonna say less, more. How much more time does everybody need? Couple more minutes. I'm done.
I'm done. We make it nice and easy.
I'm done, Mike.
Okay. So for those watching at home, you heard it here first. We made it nice and easy. These are even less than 5-minute actions, but depending on how deep you want to dive, get lost in the web too easily sometimes. And next thing I know, an hour has passed. But Jim dropped off.
Mike,
Yes.
I would like to ask if Ben would mind to send me his PowerPoint presentation for today in part for my meeting minute writing. And also, I think I may like to mention his organization at our church, where I also have some volunteer work over there, and I think it's very meaningful organization and activity he hosted.
I would love to share my presentation. Just let me know how. And I would love all referrals and connecting to everyone. Anybody is welcome to announce it anywhere. So
I will put my email address in the chat.
okay, perfect.
All right, thank you, Ben.
Yep.
So we have some time for a little discussion, and I'd like to just read something from our national newsletter. And it's they're starting this email with, "This month has been a difficult one for climate champions everywhere because basically we watched Congress pass a bill that guts clean energy incentives, which it's going to lead to higher prices for our electric bill, fewer jobs, and more climate pollution potentially to follow. We know the urgency of this situation, but it closes with the hope we have at the local level. We can't just sit back and watch communities across the country suffer. For example, the deadly floods, the fires, climate-fueled extreme weather. But the majority of Americans support clean energy. And whether our communication is with the COP leaders that are going to be hosting that summit down in Brazil, or right here at home, the majority support clean energy. And even with, a punch to our gut in the sense of, hey, our solar, our wind, our renewable energy systems, the jobs, and our progress is going to get slowed. It is not going to stop. It's just, a shifting, because we have to realize that we are the majority and we have power. And so when I reach out to people, I have a lot of despair since the beginning of the year, and we just have to remember, when you're in the majority, we can still make things happen. And so I'll leave it at that. And once again, we have an open discussion now for a few minutes before we close. Anybody? One thing I just read how, once again, the rainforest down in South America is, potentially going to keep taking hits and bigger hits. And so, it's very important in the sense of our outreach, on the national and international level, that we keep the lungs of our planet healthy. We have an uphill road. Anybody care to chime in? Tip, don't tell me there's nothing on your mind. Go on.
I'll talk.
All right.
I'm totally frustrated with the fact that it seems to me every time you get into discussions with people, they'll discuss everything that's going wrong, which there's plenty of things: education, women's rights, important things. But climate always ends up being either not discussed at all or put on the back burner, the last thing while everyone's putting their stuff together to run out the door. So, you know, this is my frustration. I don't know how to me, it's so urgent. And I think about things that are happening that are hitting people in the face. I mean, the Grand Canyon is on fire, you know? Uh, why don't they realize how important this issue is? And as I make any kind of presentation on this, I always end up by saying, you know, all of these other things are so important, but really, if we don't have an earth to live on, they're not going to be, all those other things are going to just be moot points because we don't have a planet to live on. So, you know, that's my soapbox. I'm just so frustrated that we don't seem to be able to reach people and get them to understand how important this issue is.
Thank you, Francis. You're absolutely right. Unless there's a tragedy in our own hometown, it's hard for people to see the bigger picture. You know, on the large scale, on the small scale. If, you know, garbage man takes my garbage out, but I don't secure the garbage inside, and I have a bunch of little tiny plastic pieces and wrappers and stuff, it's just gonna flip and blow all over the neighborhood. And so, yeah, much bigger scale, obviously, than, you know, the garbage in my alley from my everybody's trash being dumped. But, you know, it's such a good insight, Francis. I mean, we really do need to wake up as a society.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you know, I think this call is a good instance of what needs to be done, because I don't know Ben's politics. I don't think he mentioned it. None of us do. But this shouldn't be a polarized political issue. At the Bonn Preparatory Conference, they had a local and state, you know, a subgroup, and you know, one of the main ideas is really just to keep talking to people about these issues, regardless of what your prior assumptions about them are, because what's happening now is terrible. And I'm seeing it in my own family. I'm seeing it in the church groups. I'm seeing it all over, is that people really are in their echo chambers now. You know, the Wall Street Journal had a story this week, but people are now, you know, not even reading the Wall Street Journal because it's perceived as more political when it says anything that's fact-based or critical. And it's just imperative, I think. I had a friend that texted me yesterday that was hoping that there would be greater faith action on environmental, you know, creation stewardship, as opposed to this idea of conquest and dominion over nature. You know, these two opposing ways that we can approach the planet we live on. And, you know, there really shouldn't be, this assumption that we can just do that in an era where it's clear there are finite resources and where we have a history of exploitation that has hurt indigenous people and vulnerable groups and so forth. And so closing our eyes shouldn't be an option for any, and I'm talking about any of the world's religious systems that I know of, or the world's leading ethical philosophies and systems, perhaps with the exception of Ayn Rand. And by the way, there's a good movie called Mountainhead, which takes some of the themes from her Fountainhead book, which that Fountainhead book, like Atlas Shrugged or other major fictional work, lifts up the idea of just everybody pursuing rational self-interest, and supposedly that'll lead to a good society. But that completely rejects the idea of, you know, the sick and the poor, and say the Gospel of Matthew if you're coming at it from a Christian perspective. But, you know, these ideas of compassion are relevant in Buddhism, you know, Hinduism. You've basically got across the spectrum, through the received traditions, sacred wisdom of the millennia, that we should not be doing this for moral reasons, because it hurts other people if we don't happen to be on the positive side of that arbitrary economic divide, right? It is kind of arbitrary because in the movie Mountainhead, which is on HBO Max, it's about the 4 tech pros that represent real people that are in the tech system, like Elon Musk and Sam Altman and Peter Thiel and so forth. And I really recommend it. It's a black comedy, just like Don't Look Up, the one that came out a couple of years ago about the asteroid coming to the Earth, and people still wouldn't freaking look up and see that it's coming. They were in denial about that. And that's sort of where we are, where if you say, well, as I've said, to members of my family at a church gathering recently, I said, well, I saw this on the Wall Street Journal or, in the New York Times. You're saying you're not listening to the right sources of information. You got to listen to the YouTube only, and this channel on YouTube or Epic Times. It's just obviously not. It's media that's manipulating you for a profit-making purpose for the owners of that media. And it's curious now that you've got this divide emerging between the Wall Street Journal with Rupert Murdoch sticking with some of the stories and now being sued for $20 billion, I think it is, while Fox News, the other broadcast outlet in the U.S. and globally isn't paying attention to the issues yet. So we'll see what happens there. I just wanted to underline the point that it's very important to talk to those that we perceive as agreeing with us, but it's even more important to talk to the quote unquote other side, because we're all humans. We have these moral interests, but we also have a practical self-interest, as Ben pointed out today, in not living in a polluted environment and in preserving, as Francis said, the planet that we live on and that our kids and grandkids and future generations will live on. So,
I think we lost your volume a little bit.
Sorry?
I think we lost your volume a little bit.
Oh,
there.
I just say there's both a moral case, a theological case, a philosophical case, but there's also the practical case that, none of us want to live in a polluted environment. So coming back to Ben's talk and, connecting the local and the global, if everybody does this, we're not going to have a planet to live on, because the greenhouse gas emissions, the methane, the carbon in the atmosphere is also a type of pollution that's killing people at an enormous rate. And now, because of this regress in the legislation, tens of thousands of people more a year will die. And that's a very conservative underestimate. That's just from the attacks on the safety net. But with the attacks on USAID globally, for example, which did education and healthcare and so forth, we're going to see millions more die. We've already seen hundreds of thousands of people die. And so for people to be myopic and not be aware of that is very problematic. That's why the first stage is awareness. It's imperative to talk to the quote unquote other side, but also the voters that have been like low propensity voters that are new voters. Gen Z, the youth, are very important, because a lot of new voters that were brought in, including African Americans in this country and Latino men, they embrace this toxic masculinity that's in the movie Mountainhead, and I really do recommend to everybody, because it shows what happens when you have a transactional approach that's just looking at what's in it for me, as opposed to the community that we all live in and the planet we all live on. And it shows what happens when people are pursuing artificial value, this money that none of these billionaires need, many, many hundreds of billions more, or tens of billions or billions more. They don't need it to live on. And yet they're pursuing it, often because of their own insecurity rather, from the billionaires that I've known and worked with. And so I think it's a sort of pathological and psychopathological approach to the world and relationships and the environment that ultimately it needs to be addressed culturally. And that happens from the bottom up. Culture is upstream of politics, as they say. So since we wanted to take a little time for discussion, I'm happy to offer those thoughts.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll just comment since he mentioned me a couple times. Yeah, I didn't mention my politics. I'm happy. So anytime if anybody wants to get together and talk politics or theology, but I will say I also am, frustrated by the fact that the issue becomes polarized because it doesn't make sense. If you're an atheist and you believe that the everything is somewhat by chance, we have only one planet, only one Earth. And if you're a Christian that believes God created the world, he only gives one planet. So, or anywhere in between, we only have one planet. So, um, yeah,
Well said.
I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Alrighty. Well, if anybody else would like to comment, this is our moment. If not, we can close the conversation though. Lisa and Francis, I think, Francis, you had anything to follow up with? Well, thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate you joining us, Ben. We will get together offline, and I have a feeling you're right. We'll probably have better success getting people out in the fall when things get cooler, but perhaps we can schedule an early Saturday somewhere in the near term. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Ben.
Yeah, thank you. It was great to meet you guys and join the discussion. So look forward to joining you and you joining me or whatever. All right.
And Francis, thank you again as well for joining us. And please stay in touch and engage. I put my phone number in the chat. If you'd like to give me a call or send me a text, we'd love to see how we can engage in your neighborhood too. So
Thank you.
Well, and thank you, Mike.
Thank you,
alrighty,
Mike.
y'all. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you,
and-
Ben. Thank everybody.
Yeah,
Great weekend.
Thanks, Chip.
yeah, yeah. I'll have a great day. Chip, thanks for the, as always, your insight.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend.